Thank you, Dave. First of all, today is not a celebration about me. It's about us. And that means all of the people in this room and many, many more that have made this place successful over the last 10 years. It's been a magnificent journey for all of us, especially a journey for my wife and I. And I'd like to introduce Janelle to you. Janelle, stand up, who's traveled all these miles with me. By the way, Janelle, you can excuse me today, but Janelle tells me all the time, and y'all have heard me say this, if you're still talking about what you did yesterday, you're not doing much today. But I am going to take this opportunity to talk about yesterday a little bit, okay? I'd like to introduce Mike Emmel, who's been an administrator of mine. Mike and Penny are here. Y'all stand up. Mike's been with me 40-plus years and been through all these roads with me. He's been an advisor here since we started this project and continues to be not only an advisor to me, but to the Andrews Institute as a whole. My job today is to look back to the beginning of the project and share some thoughts with you, emphasizing that if you don't know where you've come from, you don't know where you're going. The real brainchild for the development of Andrews Institute was, guess who? His name is Al Stubblefield. He was the CEO of Baptist back in those days and for several years thereafter when we started this project. He had the vision for developing the sports medicine complex here in Pensacola. His vision was to be the trusted partner for improving the quality of life in the communities we serve. That's the Baptist vision that he's natured. He helped us develop our mission, which was to provide the best medical care for the musculoskeletal system through orthopedics and sports medicine, utilizing innovative techniques, and to improve patient care through research and education, emphasizing prevention. Let me just tell you sort of how this started. It's interesting. Al and a group of Baptist employees came to Birmingham in December, I think it was December of 2003. Called up and wanted to know could I meet with them. And I was in the operating room as usual, and we met in a little room in the back of the Health South Surgery Center. And they wanted to meet about maybe developing an Andrews Institute. And included in that group was Joe Story. Most of you remember Joe. He had just moved to Pensacola, he and his wife. His wife was CEO of Gulf Power. They moved from Birmingham. Joe was a primary care physician in Birmingham, and we had a connection because he sent all of his sports medicine patients to me at Health South in Birmingham. And I think Joe's job down here was Vice President of Development at that point. Joe was a real character, if y'all remember him. The other guy that was with Al at that first meeting was Chad Gilliland. And I had a big connection with Chad. Chad had worked in Birmingham as an athletic trainer with Kevin Wilk in our PT department as his intern and athletic trainer helper for 3 years. He was also helping us do our outpatient sports medicine program in Birmingham with all the high schools. He had moved down here because his daddy retired and became the coach at Escambia High School as a football coach. So Chad had a job at Baptist, and he was basically in charge of what they were trying to develop, a sports medicine program there. That's when sports medicine was really becoming popular amongst all the hospitals. He was also in charge of the durable goods at Baptist. But Chad and Joe had been whispering in Al Stubblefield's ear, why don't you get Dr. Andrews down here? That's who we need to do this program. And that's how it really started. That was the first visit. Now, the second visit came up pretty soon, and it was even more interesting. Mark, do you remember that? The second meeting occurred in Birmingham. By the way, I was completely amazed at this point because a lot of people talk about doing things and let's talk, and that's the end of it. But here they come back for a second meeting up in Birmingham. And that meeting included Mark Faulkner. Mark, I think you were at Jay Hospital at that point. and Joe Feltner, who was the CFO of Baptist. And Joe was always played the bad guy deal with this, good guy, bad guy with this project. And Faulkner was saying, oh, that's too expensive. We can't do that. That'll never work. So we felt we'd better bring Faulkner up to Birmingham to try to pump him up. Let me tell you what happened. It was a damn miracle. We took him through the facility there at Hell South, and we went through the PT department. And those of you that remember Joe, he was a nut about Ohio State. And guess who was there as an athlete I just operated on? A guy named Blaine Wilson, who was a gold medal gymnast from Ohio State. Kevin Wood was rehabbing his shoulder, getting ready for the Olympics. And when Joe walked in to the PT department and there was an Ohio State alumni that was a superhero, that was the end. Oh, we got to do this. This is a great project. And that's how we really got it financially done with Joe Feltner. Chad was there also, and so was our cheerleader, Joe Story. I would be remiss, though, if I didn't tell you a little bit more about the development of this project. Jerry Pate's been in my life forever. He lived with me. He had his own key to our home in Birmingham. I operated on him so many times I can't count them. And I knew him when I was when he won the U.S. Open. I knew him when he was at the University of Alabama. And he'd been a friend of mine. And he's one of the reasons that I actually moved from Columbus, Georgia to Birmingham. Of course, he's from Pensacola, as you all know. But as soon as Jerry heard about the meetings we had in Birmingham, he got all over the project. And he still takes credit for it. Read the front page of the newspaper today. And Jerry really was very important. I said, Jerry, can you get us some money? This building we're in right here would not be here if it wasn't for Jerry Pate. Because we had run out of money. We'd done all we could through Joe Feltner's Baptist pockets. And everybody was getting nervous. But we needed a research and education component, which is where you are right now, including the lab upstairs and the biomechanics lab next door, et cetera. So Jerry's got umpteen jillion friends. Mr. Mayor, you know what I'm talking about. Yes, sir. So he said, I'll go get some money from Jeb Bush, who was governor. And he did. And Jeb Bush, through the legislature, Ed Gray had a lot to do with that too, Ed, thank you. Ed and Jerry fight back and forth about who gets credit for that, but both of them are very important. And we got the money from the state legislature through Jeb Bush to build this building. And it was devoted to prevention of injuries in youth sports in the state of Florida. And it still is. Joe Story was really the interior decorator of interior and exterior. And you'll notice here, the whole concept of what we built here was to try to camouflage this so it wouldn't look like a hospital. We wanted it to look like a Ritz-Carlton hotel or some resort. And Joe was the perfect guy to push that button. He was so proud of those waterfalls that you have in that entrance, for example. All the tile and marble that's in this place. So Joe Story was really helped us get this building built in a first-class situation. Also, back in those days, the Moretz Construction Company, Rick Moretz, the late Rick Moretz, who's passed away, his construction company built this place. It was started in late 2004, I think right before the hurricane hit. And we finished it in early of 2007. The other thing that's important as I finish this up is to note the fact that two of our current fellows that were in training with me in Birmingham volunteered to finish their fellowship and move down here so we could start some form of a fellowship program. And those two guys that started and have been the backbone of our program was one, Roger Ostrander, who's up here, and Josh Hackle, who's somewhere in here. And they finished their fellowship in Birmingham and moved down here. I think Roger did his first sports medicine examination in the fertility clinic over at Gulf Breeze Hospital. So they camped out for what, the next 2 years. And they've been here as backbone of our program ever since. And without them coming down here, we may not have been able to start a program. And the rest is history. So with that little background, it gives you an idea of where we come from. Our future is here tomorrow. We have to plan for our future. And we're hoping that the stimulus of this 10-year anniversary, as Mark pointed out, will give us the stimulus to plan for what we're going to do next. So with that, thank y'all very much for being here. I hope you appreciate all that's been in place with this particular project, and you'll hear more about the project in just a few minutes. Thank y'all very much.